I remember looking in the mirror and hating the person staring back at me. To the world, I looked disciplined, but inside I was starving. Not just for food, but for control. I was terrified that if I took one bite, I would lose everything. The scariest part wasn't the hunger, it's that I liked it. Today, I'm telling you the truth about what it really cost me.
Hey, welcome to Forloveness. This is Ryan.
I'm Taylor.
So today we are talking about eating disorders. And I don't understand this. I wanted to ask some questions to see if you could help me understand.
Yeah, I think that's common. Most people don't understand. People think, just eat. It's not that hard. One of my doctors actually told that to my mom once.
Well,
crazy. Yeah, but it's much deeper than that. And it's not so easy.
Can you take us back to right before this all started?
Yeah.
We're looking back now and see what opened the door to this whole thing.
I always struggled from a very young age with body image issues. I don't know exactly where that came from, but I do remember as young as 9 or 10 thinking I was fat.
Really?
Kind of picking clothes out that would make me look skinnier. And then that only increased as I got older. I think that's something that a lot of women deal with, is that issue, that lie of you not looking good.
Who were you before this all started? Just
Somebody,
a kid trying to fit in the world?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I've always struggled with, is feeling liked or feeling wanted. So I think definitely at that time, that was my main focus, was trying to find friends and trying to feel like I fit in.
Since this is rarely about food and more about control, did your world feel chaotic? And how did restricting food give you a sense of safety or control?
Yeah, my life was definitely chaotic since I was little. My dad wasn't really in my life. He was in and out. I moved around a lot as a kid. There were family members that were in and out of my life. When I was young, me and my mom moved states away from all of our family. I moved schools almost every year. That's very chaotic for a young kid. There was not really, honestly, any sense of stability in my life growing up.
So this is something you feel like you actually had control over.
Yeah.
What do you wish you could have understood about that? If you could go back now, what do you wish you could have understood?
I wish that I would have understood that I didn't need to look to other people to feel validated, to feel wanted. I went to church some at that time. I remember I have a friend who always tried to get me to go to youth group, but I didn't understand it at all. I didn't want to go to church. I couldn't tell you a thing that was in those sermons. I definitely fell asleep during church most of the time.
We often tell people to look to God for the answers, but when we're hurting and when we're in pain, we try to fix it ourselves.
Yeah.
Since I don't understand, and a lot of people listening probably don't, what was a typical day like for you when this first started? When it began, how you sort of acted and what you did, so that if someone listening and maybe they have a loved one that's dealing with this, they can be on the lookout for these things and try to get them help before it gets too deep.
When it first started, it wasn't super bad. I kind of hesitate to say it like that because it's all bad. But I started by maybe just eating a little less, skipping some meals, throwing up on occasion.
Did anybody know that you were doing this? Or did it even register that you were, I'm not hungry today? Is that how it went?
At first, I remember lying to my family and telling them that I was eating dinner with friends. And I wasn't. I remember specifically one time I was out shopping with one of my friends, and I told her, I was like, if my mom asks, tell her we went here and tell her we ate, but I'm really not going to. And it's funny because she actually commended me for the self-control. She said, wow, I don't know how you do that. You have such self-control. It was a friend that said that. I was lying to my parents, telling them that I ate dinner with a friend when I really didn't eat anything at all.
That must have been exhausting trying to keep all that up.
Yes, definitely.
So just trying to understand the picture. You were in high school,
mhm.
right? And creating these lies to not eat.
I wouldn't eat a lot of times during the day. So I would obviously not eat breakfast, not eat lunch at school. And then I would eat dinner when I got home because I had to, because I didn't want to not eat dinner every night with my family. And then I would go and throw up dinner usually.
Okay. And that was just the beginning.
Yes. And it made me feel really good too. Every single time you throw up that food, honestly, it felt like such a release.
So it was like a high.
Yes.
Interesting. I never knew that. I wonder why that is. Because other types of disorders fall into this control category. Yeah. But one specifically that I can relate to is a feeling of high and control.
After the fact, it's like relieving stress almost. It's
right, because
weird.
you were stressed because you ate.
Yeah.
So you could fix that. Something else you could control in that situation.
And then obviously controlling your weight, right?
Yeah.
That's something too. Multiple times throughout the day, checking the scale.
Okay, so
basing your whole life on that.
Yes.
My whole mood. If I woke up and I wasn't where I wanted to be weight-wise that day, my entire day was ruined.
Was anybody ever on to you at that point?
Oh, definitely my mom. She didn't say anything. Well, actually, I had gone to visit my dad, and he told me, your mom thinks you're throwing up your food. Is this true?
Oh, really?
Of course, I said no. And that was the end of that. But there was one day my mom had picked me up from school, and she told me I was going to get a physical or something from the doctor, and she had taken me to an intake appointment at an eating disorder treatment facility.
Oh, so you went to inpatient treatment or no?
So there's different levels of treatment. They usually have an IOP, which is like an intensive outpatient. So you stay home and you go to therapy every couple times a week.
So you're in school at this time or no? You're like homeschooling at this point or?
So at this point, this was just the intake. So okay. I think they were trying to see where I was.
Okay.
See what was going on.
So she was trying to get you help because she didn't understand anything about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but there's different levels of treatment. So there's obviously like the hospital, which would be a highest level. Then there's a level where you stay at the treatment facility 24 hours a day. You live there. Then there's another level that's underneath that. You just go there for a couple hours during the day, but you go back home and sleep. And then there's one that you kind of just go to a couple times a week.
Okay.
So I think the point of this intake appointment was obviously one, to confront me because nobody had said anything to me yet. And then to kind of figure out where I was and what kind of treatment I needed.
Were you mad when this happened?
So mad.
Because she surprised you or you just were being yourself?
I was just being very defensive and denying for sure. I remember.
You think you were going to be in trouble or something?
No, I didn't think I was going to be in trouble. I just remember being extremely defensive and lying and trying to convince them that this wasn't true, that this wasn't going on or happening.
Okay. Why did you do that? Were you afraid of losing control?
I think it's always hard to admit that you have a problem.
Yeah.
I was blindsided. The first step was to automatically take me to a treatment facility. And I had no idea what was going on. I was just shocked. And I was suddenly just confronted by these people that I didn't know. These people that were trying to put me away in some facility. And I was never comforted, I guess. It wasn't gentle.
Looking back now, if you had a child that was doing this,
mm-hmm.
How would you approach it differently, or would you approach it differently? Because you know that their entire persona is a big lie. They're lying to themselves, they're lying to you and everyone around them. So common sense for most people would be to confront that head on, because that's what we're supposed to do in that situation.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's not what you would do now?
First of all, that's a hard question because everybody's different. You have to approach different people differently because of how their specific personalities are and how they react to certain things. But when you have an eating disorder, that does become your identity. That's all you care about. That's all you think about. And unless you yourself come to the feeling of wanting help, it's going to be very hard to get the person struggling to not become defensive and to not try and protect that identity.
But that's with a lot of things. It's with
Right.
alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction,
Mhm. Yeah.
and the list goes on.
I would probably try and sit them down and very kindly, very gently ask them what's going on. Just mention that you're maybe noticing some things.
Had no one confronted you with this before? Had no one asked you about it?
One time my dad had said something. I had visited him over the summer and he said, "Your mom called me and said that she thinks that you're throwing up your food." He's not a very gentle person. I mean, I wasn't going to talk to him about anything. Like, I barely even knew him, honestly. Yeah. Of course, I just said, "No, that's not true." And then moved on, and I never heard anything about it again until I was at that treatment facility.
I think as a parent, sometimes it's hard for us to handle it because we don't want to believe that our child is hurting and admit that they need help or that we can't help them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times for parents, that's a really difficult thing.
Well, and it's very hard to know how to handle a specific situation like that when you've never dealt with it yourself, too.
True. Are there any other things that you did to hide it?
I don't honestly think it was that hard to hide it. I mean, obviously, like we just talked about, my mom knew something was up. But other than that, I don't think anybody else knew.
And then what happened from there? Did you leave, stay? What happened?
So if I remember correctly, they originally were thinking I was going to be in the lowest level of care. And then after all my pushback and defensiveness and kind of how I was acting, they decided that I probably needed something a little higher. So the doctor, they did an assessment. They checked all my levels and made sure I wasn't dying that day from malnourishment and all of that stuff. And I didn't go in the lowest level of care, but I went into the next one, which was an 8-hour-a-day thing. So my mom would drop me off in the morning. I would stay in treatment all day, and then I would come home at nighttime to sleep.
How was the treatment? Did that help you, hurt you?
I was in treatment several times, and that first time definitely made it worse.
How
actually.
So? How did it make it worse than before?
To be completely honest, I learned a lot from the other patients. At that point, I didn't really think I had a problem. I didn't want help. I wasn't interested.
So it was like school for people with eating disorders.
Yeah. Which sucks to say because treatment facilities are great. And that's where people do need to go a lot of times.
Yeah.
But there is also the risk you're somewhere with a lot of mentally unstable people and a lot of people that don't want help. Sure. So what are they going to do? They're going to talk to you about things that you don't really, there were a lot of things I didn't know about that I was learning. I
think that's good to know that it's not a just drop your kid off and they're going to be fixed.
There's always potential.
There's work to do and they have to want to do the work as well.
Yeah, I learned tips and tricks on how to not eat. I actually started self-harming right after or during that stay because I saw other patients do it.
More control.
So that few months in treatment didn't help me at all, honestly.
Do you think if you wanted to get well, it would have helped? If you were actively participating?
Probably so. It was definitely a good program.
Did you feel addicted to it?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely an addiction. And it's almost like you want to be better at your eating disorder than someone else.
Yeah.
Which I don't know because I've not struggled with any other addictions, but I don't think is common in those spaces. If you're a drug addict, do you want to be a better drug addict than this person?
Yes, sometimes you do.
Oh, okay.
I watch more porn than you. I drink more than you. I do more drugs than you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I mean, that's
I'm more
exactly.
broken than you is actually a lot of what it really is.
Yeah, that's exactly how this was. And for me, this was a learning on how to be better at my eating disorder this round. So when I got out of treatment this time, I completely stopped eating. I didn't eat really anything at all for 2 weeks. And that got me sent straight to the hospital, like the real hospital this time.
Did someone notice? Did you ask for help?
No, I never asked for help. I was just losing weight. I'm sure that my parents tried to make me eat and I was just refusing. And I was horrible to my family at this time. Horrible. I remember one time my mom had set yogurt on the table for me to eat. I mean, I was on a specific meal plan. My parents measured out my meals, fed them to me every day, or tried to at least. And I was throwing a tantrum. I didn't want to eat. My mom was yelling at me, trying to get me to eat, all this stuff. We were arguing back and forth. So I just took the bowl of yogurt and I turned it upside down right in front of my mom and watched it drain onto the floor.
Now you were out of control. You were acting out because the one thing you thought you could control, you no longer were in control.
Yeah, well, and people were trying to get me to eat and I was just lashing out at them. And like you said, I kind of was just withering away. I mean, my weight got so low and I was so malnourished. I had to go to the hospital so I didn't have to die. And then I do remember chewing gum as I was walking in. And the nurses told me I couldn't have gum. And so I spit it out at the nurse. I was so mean. Then after I was in the hospital for a while, I went back to the treatment facility.
Inpatient.
Yes.
Okay.
And this time I actually lived there. So I went from the actual hospital to inpatient treatment and I was there 24 hours. Then this was the point where I wouldn't eat. I got a feeding tube because that's how things worked. If you wouldn't eat your solid food, they would push Ensure down your feeding tube. And I was still just so angry and lashing out and throwing tantrums every single time they would made me eat. There were times I remember if I got super mad, I would rip out my feeding tube and I would just throw it on the floor.
Why do you think you did all these things?
I was just trying to hold on to it, hold on to the eating disorder, hold on to that identity, hold on to that control, I guess.
So you started feeling out of control.
Well, when somebody is forcing you to give up something that you don't want to give up.
So the eating disorder became a coping mechanism for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think mostly the instability in my life. I think at the root of it all, that's one of the biggest issues that I have is instability and feeling unwanted.
It sounds like that second trip to the treatment facility didn't help you either.
No, not really. I think that I probably got worse after that one also.
Can you walk me through something real quick so I understand? What are the treatment facilities, at least back then, what were they trying to do? What was their goal there?
Some of it is refeeding because when you're so malnourished and you don't eat, there's a particular way that you have to refeed.
Right. But what are they trying to heal other than, okay,
Well,
I get your nutrition and your nourishment is number one most important thing. Save the person physically.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not a physical ailment as much as it is a spiritual, emotional, mental ailment.
Yeah. I mean, you're constantly in therapy. That's the whole entire day. So there's a schedule. You're just in therapy all day, basically.
So they're just trying to wear you down to get you to figure out what the issue might be.
Yeah. And they teach you coping skills and they help you to.
What were some of the coping skills they taught you? Do you remember any? Or did you use any?
Journaling would be one.
Oh,
that would be good.
Definitely.
Teach you about your feelings. I mean, a lot of people go in there, they're just so broken, they feel numb, which is definitely.
Lonely. That's a big deal with a lot of these type of disorders. There's a loneliness because no one understands me.
Mm-hmm. And you get to a point, and I know this because I got to that point, you don't even recognize what you're feeling. So I remember in one group I have, this actually was in a different treatment facility, but we would sit around in a circle with the other girls there and they would pass around a paper with like different smiley faces of different emotions so that you could read on this paper the emotions and you would say how you are feeling that day. And that literally might be somebody's only way of knowing how they feel because you're so numb that you can't even recognize how you're feeling. So how are you even supposed to talk about it? But the person that's struggling does have to be willing to do the work. And I definitely wasn't willing to do the work at that time. I eventually, a few months later, got out of that treatment facility, went back to school. My eating disorder actually got worse.
So it just kept progressively getting worse,
Yeah.
even though you were going to treatment. But you weren't really working hard in there, you said?
No, definitely not. I mean, I was there because I had to be. I wasn't there on my own. That just landed me back in treatment again, a different facility. I went actually to a facility in a different state for a while. I remember getting there and they asked me what I had eaten that day, and I said nothing. And so they handed me some grapes, tried to get me to eat something, and I threw it at the nurse. That one I do think helped me a little bit more.
Do you think if you had been brought up in faith stronger, that this would have been easier or maybe never have happened?
100%. Like I said earlier, I did go to church, not because I wanted to go to church, but because my parents were going to church and I went with them. But when I was growing up, I never really understood the importance of God and faith in my life. And I never understood the importance of a relationship with Him and how to have a relationship with Him.
I think that's important, how to have a relationship with Him. I don't think that's stressed enough.
No, it's not. I think, and you have to learn that. I mean, you either have to wait until you're older, like me, and teach yourself. Yeah. But if you're a child and you don't have people that are telling you how to do that and what to do, you're not going to be able to figure that out on your own or know that you have to pray and do all that stuff.
It's not just a child thing. There's adults that don't know how to do it. Really, all you should be doing is just seeking Him, seeking Jesus.
Right.
And if you do that, you're going to start having a better relationship. You're going to have stronger faith and you're going to be able to find strength in Him, which is really all you need is His grace.
Yeah.
And that's in 2 Corinthians 12:9. Paul talks about this. He says, Jesus says, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. When you seek God, He's really capable of helping you through things.
Yeah, and I think that wasn't stressed enough during my childhood. Because when you're in this eating disorder, in this depression, you feel completely isolated.
I've heard eating disorders isolate you.
Yeah, it's incredibly isolating. That's literally all I cared about. I didn't care about anybody else except for that. That was my only focus. So friends, family didn't matter. I woke up immediately thinking about how I looked, immediately thinking about my weight, and thought about that all day, how I could not eat, how I could lie so that people didn't know I wasn't eating or throwing up. And you feel so alone, but it's the eating disorder that's making you feel alone. You just have all of these thoughts going on in your head telling you you're not good enough.
What made you feel like you weren't good enough?
I think I've always struggled with that. A lot of it probably stems from me growing up. My parents were very, very young when they had me. They weren't together. My dad wasn't really in my life, and that definitely made me feel unwanted by him. And me and my mom moved away from where I was born and the rest of my family. And she was a single mom. She was working all the time. And a lot of times I was alone. I stayed home alone from a very young age. And I was an only child. So I was very lonely. And I didn't really have anybody around that made me feel comforted all the time. There was a lot of trying to figure things out myself. And looking back on my teen years and, even my early 20s, I have just been trying to figure out how to be loved by other people. I think not having that family close around made me kind of struggle with that.
That sounds absolutely crushing. And what you were dealing with as a child is a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard to hear sometimes because I think about my own children and knowing that they likely suffered or suffer from a broken heart as well. But the Bible promises in Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. Do you see that God had a plan the whole time now, even though you didn't then?
Definitely.
This is something we've talked about a lot, given our various stories that we've shared, that we had to go through them to get to where we are and to get to where we're going.
Yeah, I think that through all of this, not feeling like I have that love and that protection and that guidance that I did as a child, the only place that I could find it, the only place that I can find it in now is God. That's what he wants, right? That's what he wants for everybody. Is he wants his children to come to him. He really is the best. He's the best father. He's the one that can love you the most and that can protect you the most and that can keep you safe.
I have a question about treatment.
Yeah.
I know that at the time there wasn't a way for you to have both. You weren't able to go to treatment and seek God also.
But I didn't know how to do that.
Right. But what I'm asking is, if you knew how to do that, if you were somehow combined the two, treatment with like a Christian treatment center.
Yeah.
With real Christian values.
Yes.
Not just a Christian counselor who has a certificate in it that they went to school over a weekend.
Yeah.
But I mean, a real theologically based treatment center that was able to actually get through to people and help them.
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing. Because there are a lot of treatment facilities that aren't Christian based and they are telling you need to do what makes you happy, the I. And that's just going to make things worse because they say you shouldn't bring religion into it, just like at work, for example, But the answer is God. I've had such a hard time with this the last couple of days. And for the last 5, 6, 10 years, maybe even, if you would have asked me about my eating disorder, I would have told you the story, no problem. I would have told you I was over it. I still struggle with it from time to time, but emotionally and mentally, I would have said, I'm pretty much past it. But the last few days, God has shown me that I'm not past it. And he's shown me that there's things that I still need to work on, which is really hard, but I'm also excited about it and thankful because now I can work through it with God instead of trying to figure it out myself or just suppressing it and lying to myself and saying that I'm over it when I'm not.
Yeah, it's not just you doing that, it's the enemy. He sets these little traps and these triggers for you so that he can keep you bound up in those chains.
Yeah. And God is the only one that can actually tell you the truth.
So I have a question that we talked about earlier. And I think that this is probably the most important question that I'm going to ask today. Friends and family often say the wrong things with good intentions. What were the most unhelpful and even harmful comments that you heard?
Oh my gosh. The worst thing that you can say to somebody with an eating disorder is you look so healthy. Oh my gosh, you look so good. You look so healthy.
Yeah.
That's literally, don't ever say that to anybody with an eating disorder. That's like, it means they're fat. That's not what you mean, but in their head, when they hear that, that's what they think you're saying.
What should you say instead?
In somebody that's recovering, like for example, if somebody comes home from treatment and you haven't seen them for a while, you shouldn't say anything about their bodies or how they look at all, or really food. Just talk to them like they're normal. Like, how are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
What do you want to do today? You shouldn't really bring up any of that. If you're having more of a serious discussion, maybe with your family about like meals or something like that, I would just ask more open questions and just kind of let them do the talking and let them get comfortable.
Is there anything you would ask someone if you suspected them of doing it?
I would very kindly and gently sit down and just ask if everything's okay. Is there something going on that you might need help with? Is there anything that's bothering you? And I would, in a gentle way, try to get them to open up and to talk about it. But don't force them and don't accuse them of doing something specific. like not eating or throwing up or something.
What about if you know that this is going on, if you're a parent and you know that your child is doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and you also know that the child is going to lie about it in
Yeah.
most cases,
Yeah.
you can't passively approach this.
Yeah.
How would you deal with this? How would you approach this with someone?
Well, you have to be gentle. You can't.
But what about when they lie?
You have to tell them that well, I know you've been throwing up your food. I know you've been skipping meals, very gently. Not, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like, very gently with compassion. I know this is going on. You're not in trouble, but what's going on? Let's talk about this.
What if the child is just adamant about denying?
You are just going to have to step in as the parent and force it at some point.
When would you bring Jesus into the conversation?
Jesus needs to be brought into it immediately, and he really needs to be brought into everything.
So if you're not that person that is actively practicing this, would you recommend they seek counsel from maybe a pastor at the church they do occasionally go to, or even the local church that they have?
Yeah, I think that would be extremely helpful. They can kind of guide you through how God can help, guide you through some scriptures and some things in the Bible. But if you start praying to God and you start talking to him, he will talk back. He will help you get through it, and he'll pull out that pain like nobody else can.
And it's okay to do that, because as the parent, we don't always have all the answers. And the sooner we admit that we don't have all the answers and all the solutions,
Right.
and that the solutions are in one place and one place only, and that's the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
the sooner that we can get ahead of this and actually get a handle on it. So by going to seek counsel from a pastor or church leader, or even a friend that you know is really in the word, they can help guide you as the parent to help take care of your child.
Yeah, and you're going to have to do both, because this is a very big disease, and there's a lot that goes into recovery, and you're going to need the doctor to make sure that you're not malnourished, make sure all your levels are good. You're probably going to need a dietitian to help you with some kind of eating plan, refeeding plan, or how to deal with the food portion. That's not something a pastor is probably going to be able to tell you, the specific food portion of that.
Sometimes we get in our own way, just always praying all the time, when he's given us the solution. It's over here at this treatment facility. You still have to be willing to work it. So when you have a family or friend or loved one that is struggling, you don't just have to take them to the church. You can go to the church and get some guidance on how to approach it with them.
Well, and especially something like this, a lot of diseases, a lot of addictions, it's not just about that one person that's struggling. It involves the people that surround them as well.
For sure.
And they need help as well. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you're going to find your answers through God. And if you don't know how to do that, then find somebody that can help you.
I think something that, I don't know if I said this on the last episode, but I think it a lot. I say it to you sometimes. Whenever we go through something, no matter how big or small it is, if we're dealing with something that's painful, every single person around us is dealing with it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Whether your mother not knowing what to do and doing the best that she could to deal with it, you not thinking anyone understood it and trying to control your situation.
Yeah.
Cousins, grandparents, everyone around us suffers.
You know, my mom told me one time she would go to sleep every night not knowing if her daughter was going to wake up the next morning.
Yeah, and that's horrible. And I think a lot of parents deal with that with their kids. I know my parents certainly probably thought that a few times.
Yeah.
But I think we're so caught up in what's going on with us, trying to deal with our own selves, that we forget about those people around us. And we get labeled as selfish.
Yeah.
When we're going through something and we can't express it and we don't understand it, and no one around us knows how to help us either.
Right.
And we would all get along much better by seeking the answers of Jesus that he has for us in all of these situations. And
together.
Every single situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important, together.
Yep.
So recovery is never a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any setbacks? How do you get through this today? What's your relationship like with food, your body? everything. And when you have setbacks, how do you deal with them now?
It's definitely up and down. I still struggle to this day, obviously not nearly as bad as I did. My relationship with food is pretty good. There are some things that I definitely have struggles with. I'm very particular about my food, extremely particular.
Very true.
I have to feel like sometimes I have to eat things in a certain way and there's certain time limits.
Still controlling things.
Yeah, definitely.
But at least it's not harmful.
It's not harmful, but there are definitely moments of control if I don't get exactly what I want. The other day, we had gone to this restaurant and I was trying to get this one thing on the menu that I always get every single time we go there. I was super excited to get it. And we get there and they said, "We've taken it off the menu." And my heart literally sank. Like, I was so lost in that moment. I was so overwhelmed and discombobulated in my mind because I just wasn't expecting that. I didn't know what to do. And so we left.
Yeah, that's not the first time that's happened. But you like what you like and you want what you want, and that's okay.
Yeah, if I have set in my mind that I want something, I better get that or else.
We had a better meal anyways, where we ended up going. See, God always has a plan.
We did.
Do you feel your relationship with God now strengthens your ability to deal with challenges and triggers?
100%. Yes. Like I said earlier, I'm thankful that God has shown me that I need to take some time to deal with this a little bit more because now I get to deal with it with Him and I get to give Him my pain and Him my struggles. And God can do anything. He'll handle it perfectly in the way that it's supposed to be handled.
I love that. That's a powerful picture of what true freedom really looks like. It brings me to Galatians 5:1. So Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and don't get tied up again in slavery to the law.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your powerful story and finding that freedom to help others find their own.
Of course. I hope that this was able to help someone. If you or anyone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, reach out to the National Eating Disorders Association helpline at 1-800-931-2237. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and God bless.